The Miami Heat, for the past, since I've really been alive, have been one of the most consistently good teams in the NBA. It's death, taxes, and the Miami
What?
Heat are probably going to be pretty good this year, okay? There's really no getting around it. I mean, since the 2000 season, for the last 25 seasons, they have only had six losing records, which is insane. And no matter what their talent level is, it seems that they're always able to find a way to at least be decent and make the playoffs. And when they make the playoffs, for some reason they become the fucking goon squad out there and they become like world beaters sometimes. And a lot of that is due to the unbelievable coaching of Eric Spoelstra. In my opinion, he is by far and away the best coach in the NBA. He does more with less than any other coach can possibly do. He's made to the finals with some of the like least talented overall teams that you've ever seen. Now, he may not win it every time, but just getting there is just as impressive as a feat, in my opinion, with some of the teams he has done it with. And to show you just how much success they have, out of the last 25 seasons, they have made the playoffs 19 times, where they made the finals seven of those times and even won it three of those times. Now, I do know for a while they had a super team with LeBron, Wade, Bosh, all that. Okay, I understand. But he also recently, for sure, has been doing it with definitely not even close to super teams. And I think that is extremely impressive. But I'm going to be saying why I think this huge consistency, with on top of some of the offseason transactions that they're able to make, and just their overall roster construction over the past few years, has put them once again in a position where they can legitimately make the finals again this season. And why I think that they probably should be one of the favorites out of the Eastern Conference due to some outstanding circumstances beyond their control, and then due to some things that they intentionally did as well. So I'm going to get into all that in this video. If that does not interest you, please watch the video all the way through, hit the like button, subscribe button. Without further ado, without rambling on too much, let's get right into this video. So let's first get into their offseason transactions. Now, they didn't do many things this offseason, but the things they did do were pretty impressive, as they made, in my opinion, one of the best trade deals I've seen in a very long time, as they made a move to get Norman Powell from the Clippers, and the only thing that they gave up was Kyle Anderson and Kevin Love. So basically, they gave up a role player in Kyle Anderson and a grandpa that is funny on Instagram sometimes, okay? And that's all they gave up to get a borderline star level shooting guard in Norman Powell, who fits them and fills a need that they desperately needed to fill. So I think this trade was a home run grand slam by Pat Riley and the Miami Heat. And then some of the other things they did, they re-signed Davion Mitchell and they signed Kasparas Jonas. Like, I know who he is. I'm sorry if I butchered his name, though. But those were really the main things that they did that are going to actually impact the team going into next year. I love the trade. I like them re-signing Davion. He fits the team's culture and the team's play style very well. And I even like Kasparas a little bit as a player off their bench. So that then is going to lead us to this roster as a whole. The first thing I'm going to get into is going to be basically their starting lineup, and then I'm going to get into their rotation and break down how good I think this team is going to be and why I think they're going to be, because I think the team works and meshes together very, very well. So let's start with their guard rotation in the starting lineup. It is most likely going to be Tyler Hero as their starting point guard and Norman Powell as their starting shooting guard. Okay, White Boy Hero had a great year last year. Now look, defensively, this backcourt may struggle. They may not be the greatest defensive backcourt we've ever seen, but offensively, they can easily both give you 20 a game. They can easily both make their own shot and legitimately carry an offense for spurts of games. And if they're hot, they can even carry you for an entire game. So offensively, this is easily a top 10 backcourt in the NBA. Now, like I said, defensively, they're going to have to figure some things out, but hopefully with the coaching of Spoelstra and the whole system as a whole, plus some great defenders behind them, I do think that their guard rotation will be serviceable enough on the defensive end, and with how good their offense should be, it should more than balance each other out. So I think their guard rotation, although it could definitely improve, I think is still very talented, and offensively, it is going to be very hard to deal with two very talented guards on their offensive side of the ball when you're trying to deal with them on a night in and night out basis. Because a lot of times people were able to double Tyler Hero and just kind of hope Bam didn't go off, and they didn't really have anyone after that, especially before they traded for Andrew Wiggins. But now that they have Norman Powell on the team, now you can no longer double team Tyler Hero and just guard Bam. Now you have to legitimately guard each one of them pretty much straight up one on one. Or if you do decide to double, now you can pass it to another great scorer and he can punish the team for trying to double. So I do think Norman Powell is a huge addition to this team, and their guard rotation should be very, very good going into next year. And then you move on to their forwards, forwards, which is going to be small forward and power forward, and I have Andrew Wiggins and Bam Adebayo starting there. Now, yes, I know Wiggins, the past few years at Golden State, especially after the finals, he was a little rocky, and I mean, a lot of personal things were going on in his life due to some reports. And I think Andrew Wiggins is far from over in the league. I think he's still a very solid player, and if he can give you around 17 to 20 points a game, while also being the defender he evolved into as in the Warriors, especially during that finals run they had together, I think Wiggins could be a monumental great piece for this team because he kind of just is a low, keep your head down, fits the culture, fits the scheme of this team. And I think Wiggins is a ideal small forward for them because he can score when you need him to, and he can defend, and he just has good athleticism, and he can basically do everything you want him to do. And then obviously Bam Adebayo, one of the best, if not the best defensive power forward in the entire NBA. The kid's an absolute stud. It's him and Jaren Jackson Jr. Those are your two best defensive bigs in the league right now, and it's not even close. I mean, outside of like Wembanyama, but like as far as power forwards go, Bam and Jaren Jackson Jr. are the cream of the crop. And Bam, although did have a down year offensively, like I said, I think a lot of that had to do with so many moving parts, the Jimmy Butler saga, the Tyler Hero being really their only option above him. And I just think a lot of things were very weird in the Miami Heat camp last year that led to Bam having a down year. And I think with things being more orderly and a lot more, the path a lot more clear going forward, I think he's going to have a much more defined role and know what he needs to do and be able to focus on defense, and he can score when he needs to. So even Bam Adebayo being your power forward is a great situation. I think their forwards are extremely well, and they're going to complement each other very well. And then lastly, at the center position, they're going to have second year Khalil Ware, and I think Khalil Ware is an ideal modern day big in today's game. He can shoot the three, he can spread the floor, he's extremely offensively talented, he has the ability to defend all five spots, he's very, very lanky and tall, which gives him great shot blocking ability. He can rebound. He's probably going to put on some muscle. And I just think overall, he is a great center to round out this starting lineup. So if you really look at the starting five as a whole, you have two extremely offensively talented guards who are going to be carry bulk of the offense and really take pressure off of each other. You have forwards and Andrew Wiggins, who's going to be able to at least contribute offensively while also being good and solid and serviceable at basically every other aspect of the game. You have an elite defender in Bam Adebayo to lock down the paint, who can also help you give out 15, 16 points a game. And just like I said, his elite defense is what's going to be so valuable to this team. And then you have Khalil Ware, who can score and defend, and he's going to develop more talent. Like he's going to be more talented, and he's going to be very, very big to the ceiling of this team. Because if Khalil Ware can become and start touching the ceiling that he does have, or at least getting closer to it, his talent is through the roof. He could become an elite defender, an elite offensive player, and he could become an absolute problem. And if he does develop the way I think he will, this front court could legitimately become a top five, top eight one in the entire league. And that would leave them with a top 10 offensive guard rotation with a top five front court in the NBA as well. And that is going to be extremely good. And it could become one of the better starting lineups as a whole, despite not having any true superstars on it at all. I think as a team, they work very, very well together. And then even once you look at their bench, although they don't have any ginormous names on it, I think this bench works very, very well. As look what they have. They have a guy like Davion Mitchell who they just re-signed, and offensively, yes, he's not great, but he can definitely hold his own, and he's improved on the offensive side of the ball throughout the years he's developed. But defensively, the kid is a menace on the defensive side of the ball. He is a beast. And what is better for a Miami Heat bench player than someone who gives full effort and defends as hard as he can? He fits exactly what the Miami Heat want. He is a perfect backup big, and I mean backup guard for this team. And it's ideal when you're thinking about so say Tyler Hero stays in, Norman Powell subs out, and you put Davion Mitchell in there. Now instead of having two very offensively talented players who aren't the greatest defenders, you now have one very offensively talented player and one lockdown defender, and that's probably going to work together very well. So although it's going to be a different dynamic when he subs in, they're still going to be able to work together and complement each other very, very well. And then even farther down the bench, you have Jaime Jaquez, who is a pure hustle guy, rebound, plays tough, he can score. Now, yes, he did have a down year from his rookie season, and I'm going to assume offensively he will probably never be amazing, just because, I mean, that's not what he is. But hustle-wise, athleticism-wise, just grit and grind-wise, which you love to have off your bench, he will provide that every night. And I think that's what the Miami Heat want. And I think defensively, reboundingly, he's going to do all the small things, and you have to have a guy like that on the team. And that is exactly what Jaime Jaquez will provide. And then even a guy like Haspers, who they just drafted. Yes, I know his summer league was rough, but we've seen many people have rough summer leagues and then be great NBA players. And I think offensively, Caspers has a chance to be that spark plug off the bench because before they didn't have anything like that. Like, yes, I know they had Terry Rozier, but that very much did not work out for them last year. And I don't know what his role going forward on this team is going to be. And maybe he does bounce back and become the Terry Rozier of old, but I doubt it. But Casper's has a chance to provide that. Like, he can get hot offensively, he can shoot the three, he can score from all three levels, and he can self create for himself. Now, yes, he has to prove it, and he has to develop, and he has to get better at it, but that's what he can down the road, and that would pay dividends. If you have an elite defender in Davion, a elite hustle guy in Hami, and then a very good offensive player off your bench that can score and give you buckets when need be, like when Tyler and Norman are out, that would be huge for them going forward. And then even guys like Pele Larson, a very solid role player. Now, I do think he's going to have a larger role this year, and he can just play his role very well. Not going to be a star, not going to be great, but he's going to be very serviceable and be able to eat up minutes that you need. Kashad Johnson could develop. Now, I'm much lower on Kashad Johnson than most people, but he could definitely still develop for this team. Nikola Jovic, I mean, he could still be good for them. He's still developing. So they have a lot of things going for them and a lot of things that could still work out for them. So I definitely think that this bench could end up being very, very good, especially if some of these young guys can kind of develop and really get to where they need to be to become good rotational guys night in and night out consistently. So overall, from the starting lineup, I think working very well together, from their bench also complementing their starting lineup and just kind of having all the pieces you want to have off your bench. Plus, they have and overall, I just really like how this team is constructed, and I think Pat Riley has done a great job. And with the leadership of Eric Spoelstra, I have no doubt he's going to be able to just bring this group together and make them work as efficiently as possible. And I just think this team is going to be very, very solid. And I probably even sound like a Miami Heat homer. I'm not a Miami Heat fan in any way. I just think this team has been put together at a very high level, and I think they're going to be extremely, extremely solid and just overall extremely decent. And even as their backup big man go, like Vladislav Golden, the rookie out of Michigan, I liked him decently enough. Now, I doubt he plays much, but he's a grit and grind, rebound, shot block, can score a little bit, but not too offensively talented. But I mean, even if he has to get some minutes due to them being having really like kind of a thinner center rotation behind Bam and Kalel, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being decent either. So I think overall, how this team is right now is extremely fun and extremely solid to watch. And I am very, very intrigued to see how this team develops. I have no doubt if they're even semi healthy that this is a playoff team. And with what I'm about to get into right now, with the East being a lot weaker this year, I think this team has a chance to easily be a dark horse finals contender out of the East because the East right now is the Bonnie Blue of all conferences. They're wide open for anyone to take right now, okay? Like, they're letting anyone through type shit. Like, look at what their current roadmap for the East is. Boston right now got significantly worse just from losses like Kristaps, Drew Holiday, all that. Plus, Tatum is going to be out for probably the entire season, let's be honest, with a torn Achilles, or at least not, at least most of it. And with the downgrades they've had throughout the roster, I don't think Boston is any longer a legit finals contender. Now, am I saying they're going to be awful? No, but am I saying they're going to be great? Definitely not. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if Boston ends up being like a sixth, seventh, eighth seed this year because they just have a very weird situation with the injuries, with the downgrades, and they just have a lot going against them this year. So I don't think it's going to be Boston's year. The Pacers lost Miles Turner and Tyrese Halliburton is going to be out for the entire year. I think that takes them pretty firmly out of contending status. The Milwaukee Bucks lost Damian Lillard, and to me, just really aren't that scary of a team right now. Like, yeah, you have Giannis, so that's always going to give them a chance, but I just don't think this team is good enough to win the finals. The New York Knicks are probably the best team in the East just for being healthy, and even them, like, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Miami Heat would beat them in a 7 game series. Like, Cat is a historically kind of questionable playoff performer. Brunson's very good. And then outside of that, I mean, you have Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, who, yeah, solid players, but not stars. So I think Cat being the best player, or Jalen Brunson being the best player on the Knicks, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Miami Heat just being a more talented overall team would end up beating them. Like, I think they would match up very well. I think it'd be very hard for the Knicks to deal with the size and the defense of the Miami Heat. Plus, I think Brunson isn't the greatest defensive guard, so he would have struggles guarding some of like the more offensively talented guards of the Heat. And I just think overall that the Heat would probably match up very well with the Knicks. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Miami ends up being the team, if they're healthy, out of the Eastern Conference this year. And I think there's very real arguments to be made here. Now, yes, there's other teams you can make arguments about. And I'm not going to go through the entire Eastern Conference, but you get the point. Like the East is wide open this year, and with this roster, I think it's very good, very solid. And even though there's no superstars on it, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see the Miami Heat make another run, like we've seen them do time and time before, even with less talent than most other teams. So that's just why I'm very high on the Heat. I just think overall they're a very good team, and I'm very interested to hear what y'all think. Like, do you think the Miami Heat have a chance to make to the finals? How good do you think they can be? On your thoughts in the comment section below. If you agree with me, hit the like button. If you disagree with me, hit the like button. Please just comment it. You don't even have to dislike it. Just comment that you disagree. It's whatever. You just be cool, be chill. But yeah, that's basically gonna be it for this video. So like I said, hit the like button, subscribe button. If you watched it all the way through, thank you so much. And I hope you have a blessed day because I had a blessed day. So you need a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo.